The name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host. Tonight we have an extra special guest. His name is Rosario. He's a recording artist and an actor. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you're a friend of JT's, right?
I sure am, yeah.
I get the best people from JT to come on the show.
Absolutely, yeah.
So where are you from?
I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Right.
Born and raised. Went to school in Manhattan. So yeah, I'm back in Brooklyn now. You know, I spent some time out of state.
Right. Mm-hmm. So when did you get an interest in rapping or in singing?
Well, singing has always been something I've always wanted to do. You know, at 5 years old, I did New Kids on the Block at a street party on Fifth Avenue in Park Slope.
That's cool.
You know, Step by Step, whatever it was. But
yeah.
I've always had the passion since then. You know, did school plays, things like that. When I was around 14 years old, I joined the City Kids Repertory Company.
Wow.
And got the chance to do a lot of shows through them. Studied a lot of acting, singing, obviously, dancing at the time. You know, I was one of those NSYNC kids, you know, always in front of the screen mimicking what they did. Right. And then I had a chance to go to high school in Manhattan as well, Repertory High School, the theater arts. That was amazing. That's when I took my, I was the only white kid in all black gospel choir.
That's cool.
Which was phenomenal. You know, I learned a lot of things there, a lot of discipline, and a lot of good friends, you know, from that era.
Did you do musicals and plays and
stuff? Yeah, exactly. That's what I specialized in, live performance, things like that.
My daughter's a choreographer, and she, you know, one thing about this area in Westchester, in Mamaroneck, they have something called the PACE program, which is a performing arts curriculum.
Okay.
And it's sort of like you get the education, but you also get the performing arts, which I think is great. I think
absolutely.
It gives you a good background for future things.
Mm-hmm.
So, when did you get your first professional gig?
Well, believe it or not, singing was around 15 years old. I had the chance to do background vocals at the Urban Aid benefit for P. Diddy. It was a Notorious B.I.G. tribute, and I was part of the ensemble choir singing I'll Be Missing You, you know, with Faith Evans, 112. A lot of people came out.
Did you meet everybody?
Oh, yeah, we were there. I shared a dressing room with, like, Fat Joe and all these people. It was phenomenal. I met so many people that night, you know. That was probably the pivotal moment where I knew, like, this was something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life, you know.
Now, a lot of people have the dream, you know, but how do you take that step from like dream to reality? I mean, to me, that's like a very scary step.
You know, I've been having that conversation with a lot of people lately. I've been a firm believer of like universal laws of speaking things into existence, and you know, not just saying you want to do something, but putting in the work to get that done. And you know, I didn't even have my first professional acting gig till last year, and you know, since then I've had the chance to work with some of my, you know, favorite artists and actors at the time. From growing up, but you know, nowhere near where I plan to be eventually. But you know, I've seen that, you know, people are scared. They're like, oh, you know, well, I have to work. I have to have a job. Right. And me, I finagle it. You know, I do work and have a job. But when that day comes that I have to get a gig or I have to do an overnight, and you know, we discussed this before. You know, you work and you work. You do an overnight acting gig. You go back to work with no sleep. It's got to be the drive. The difference that separates the ones who win and the ones who lose is the drive and the action.
Yeah, a lot of people call it luck, but really what it is hard work and preparation for that time when someone says, it's your turn to be on camera. It's your turn to be on stage. It takes a lot of work to get to that point.
Absolutely.
And that's called luck, but it's really not luck. Mm-hmm. It's preparation and being ready to do it when they say it's your turn. And that's happened to me a couple of times too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. But when they said it was your turn, how did you feel?
It was incredible. It really was. My first professional gig was High Maintenance on HBO, you know, playing a barbershop customer.
That's so cool.
The most ironic scene because it's obviously a comedy, and it was all bald guys in a barbershop getting a haircut. So
that's I was
like,
funny.
Hey, this is when your insecurity can work for you, you know, like let's go, you know. But that was great. You know, that's when I had a feeling, you know, that this was the time where it was going to start up for me, and I did everything I could, you know, doing, I like how Danny Trejo says he was a glorified extra for so long, you know.
That's true.
We have to learn how to be in the background in order to.
And now he's a big star.
Exactly.
That's
you know?
it, yeah. He's fantastic.
Absolutely. I had a chance to meet him through JT. We worked on Bare Knuckle Brawler together last year.
And the person who wrote that actually started out, or at least one of his earliest gigs, was working for me on a show that we've produced here called Scriptless. And that was Pete Pissarro. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was Pete's story.
That whole movie?
Yes.
I think I might have heard. I heard of him, but I didn't know that he wrote that.
He wrote the story.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. It was, and he was I guess one of the producers of it as well.
That's probably how I heard his name.
But yeah, he played one of the gangsters on one of my shows. I mean, it's incredible. His story is incredible too, and he's a great martial artist. It's incredible. I really wanted to work on that show, but when they gave me the call, I couldn't work that day. So it was. But how long did you work on it?
I think it was a 2-day gig for us. 1 or 2 days, I can't remember. But it was either a really long day, when you know what that is. That's like, 16-hour days. You can almost say it was 2 days, but I'm pretty sure it was 2. And it was crazy. It was wild to watch. We were hot, but it was an amazing experience just to be there. And
so do you get the same rush from singing as you do as from acting? Because it seems like you're really really psyched for acting.
Absolutely. I want to say it's similar, but because singing is more of like just a natural passion, of something that I love to express myself with. I don't consider myself a rapper or a singer. I just happen to rap and sing.
Right.
And I like to utilize rapping because I can say more as opposed to singing a song. But when it comes to acting, I get this like supernatural energy of knowing that you can portray something that like for years I've always portrayed things that I wasn't when I was doing the wrong things, and I've learned to utilize that energy for the positive now. When you can try to become like these great actors who are like the essence of turning into a character and the embodiment of that.
So when you're really like in a part or something like that, I mean, what is that like when you lose? I mean, I've experienced that. So when you're actually like cooking and you're really in that part and you lose yourself and you are the character, what does that feel like to you?
It's great. It's great. It shows you that you really can do this. The great thing about what I love about acting and doing music is that as an artist, I can memorize stuff so easily.
Right.
And I've said that my whole life. I'm like, I memorize all these rap songs and things like that. It's just as easy to do it with acting. Now, the thing is you have to have an emotion behind it and stuff like that. But, sometimes, recently, until I joined the SAG-AFTRA union, I was doing roles that didn't even require speaking. Right. But there were times where I had to become that silent character.
No question.
You know what I'm talking about,
I know exactly
right?
what you're talking about.
Yeah, I just did The Punisher on Marvel's show, and another time my bald head worked for me. Like I said, your insecurities could work. I had to work as a sick, dying cancer patient in a church. Now, I'm a Christian, so being in a church, I was already happy about that. But now I'm like, wow, they have to put me up onto this breathing machine, and they have this makeup all over my eyes, and I'm just like, I'm looking at myself, and I'm like, my God, I hope I never have to be this. But for those scenes, I just closed myself to myself and my own thoughts and just looked like that dying patient.
I know exactly. And it's so great. And the whole thing is great. The wardrobe, the makeup, the props that they use. And then it just makes it so much easier to fall into it, because it's almost makes it too easy sometimes if you have the actual props and the stuff and you're making you look like a patient. It might take away from it, but it's still a rush and having the people putting the makeup on you and the whole thing.
Of course, it just feels good. You're in the mirror, like you see the vanity mirror with the bulbs around it. Like this is what we do it for.
And they say, okay, they're ready for you, and then then either the assistant director or the director, depending on what kind of part you have. I mean, it's such a rush.
Can't beat it.
That's it. So tell me about you brought a video.
Yes,
with us.
I did.
So. What's the message? I mean, what's it called, first of all?
The song is called Working So Hard. Released it on my self-owned record label, Recon Regime, that I legalized the end of last year and released this earlier this year. It's called Working So Hard because it's talking about my life and what I recently went through with, drug addiction, sex addiction, being out in the streets and going to prison, things like that, and, turning your life around and, making amends requires a lot of work.
So I mean, it seems like you've had like a rough child. I mean, you're an adult, but I mean, like it looks like you had a rough time in your life.
Absolutely.
How were you able to turn it around?
When I was about 9 years old, my father passed from drug use, and there was this like fire inside of me that like made me want to do everything completely opposite as how he did it. And later on in life, I ended up doing the opposite of what I thought I was going to do, and ended up almost becoming that. And basically harnessing that energy when I was in prison, a lot of people know about this, a lot of people don't, but like, a couple of years ago, I basically almost gave up. I was pulled over on a highway in Pennsylvania, and I decided that I was very high. I was extremely intoxicated, and I pulled off on the cops and I went on a highway chase.
Oh my God.
Hit 4 state trooper vehicles.
Oh,
It was insane. I was literally like, my car was like spun off the road. They used spike strips. I still kept going. It was a moment in my life where I figured I was just going to lose it all and I was going to go out with a bang. And in my heart, I felt like it was over. And I didn't have any intentions of hurting anybody. I was just so high. I thought I was going to get away. I thought I was on my way to New York, and I was going up towards Baltimore. It's like, what was I really thinking? 83 South, thinking
the power
I'm
of
going
drugs,
home.
man.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, you know, harnessing that energy, when I was in prison, I just made this pact to myself. You know, I kept seeing, you know, we'd be in the day room and I'm like, oh, I know that guy, or I'm friends with a person who knows that person, and people would just look at me like I was crazy, but I said, watch, I'm gonna make a pact to make this a reality, that I'm gonna be there because I just have that passion.
No, because you're not a criminal.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, by
standards of the
yeah,
law, you are.
unfortunately.
But you're a person who, I mean, you weren't going out to hurt anybody. You weren't going out to rip off somebody or anything like this. You were doing something, you were lost.
Exactly. Exactly.
And now you found yourself.
Yes.
So I think, is that part of the message of this video?
100%, yeah.
So would you like to share the video with our audience?
Love to, absolutely, yes.
Okay, what's the name of the song again?
Working So Hard.
Okay, so let's all watch Working So Hard.
Working so hard. Maybe it was money and the women. Maybe I was tripping off the drinks that I was sipping. Maybe mama thought I was a bad son. Maybe it was everything and then some. See, I've been working so hard. 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 Yeah, okay, I'm focused like I'm on Zoom. Elephant inside the room like I was on shrooms. Yeah, I hear them rapping about the Molly and the Xannies. I'm just trying to win a Grammy, do it for the family. If Kanye could say Jesus on the radio, then Ray could say Jesus saves on the radio. I came a long way, from Rikers Island hallways in my old days to a show in Norway. Been solo and Popo can confirm I'm loco. I don't know why I go so hard, no chill. This logo is my code for my goals. When I rose above those bros, double R on the snapback. God gave me everything I ever asked for. All I'm missing now is a valid passport. I think it was worth the wait, even though I need permission just to leave the state. Yeah, maybe it was money and the women. Maybe I was tripping off the drinks that I was sipping. Maybe mama thought I was a bad son. Maybe it was everything and then some. See, I've been working so hard. 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 Maybe it was money and the women. Maybe I was tripping off the drinks that I was sipping. Maybe mama thought I was a bad son. Maybe it was everything and then some. See, I've been working so hard. 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 I've been working so.
Wow. I mean, I feel emotional watching it. You know, it's
Thank you.
It's such a good message. I mean, that, you know, it's we all have these detours in our life, but I mean, you could have gone one way, and in prison you could have easily gone one way, but you found yourself, I guess, in prison in
Absolutely.
a way, right? I mean, that was like a turning point for you.
Yeah.
In a good way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It definitely was.
But I really liked the video, and your story is both heartbreaking and also so positive. It's a combination of both. It's you know, bravo. You know.
Thank you.
I mean, it was great.
I thank God. I thank God for that, honestly.
Right. So what? I mean, do you have an album, or do you? How does it work?
You know what it is lately.
I don't know about music because I'm going to be 63 years old.
God bless.
When people put music out, it was always like in an album and it was a disc and stuff like that. How does music work now?
It's very different. You know, the money making aspect of it is very hard. You know,
Right.
obviously I'm not signed to a major label. I run my own independent label, and this was my first test run. You know,
It was great, man.
I wanted to. Thank you. You know, I got it on all digital outlets. I released the music video, YouTube, almost 90,000 views. You know,
Fantastic.
thank God. It's been good, but now it's like instead of doing an album, I'm noticing this new trend. You know, I just seen Kanye West, Pusha T, both albums come out, 7 songs on them. It's basically an EP or whatever it is, and that's always been something I was comfortable doing because I was kind of fearful of putting out a whole album of stuff that I wasn't confident in, of things that and plus I'm funding it all myself as well. So we're talking about mixing, mastering, releasing, promotion. These things I have to take into account, you know, doing it on my own. But
It's a business.
it is. Yeah. And this run showed me that it was possible, number one. And, you know, I'm going to be releasing another single called No Evil in the next couple of weeks, which is totally next level, you know. Very excited about that.
We'll have you back if you want to.
I would love to, yeah.
It's
It's going to be great, you know.
So I'm proud to meet you, man. I mean, to me, it's like a lot of people make mistakes in their life, and that's it. You know, they make one mistake, and I mean, their life never changes. You know, and to find the energy and the faith or whatever it is that you had to turn your life around, or to find yourself, or whatever that is. You know.
Absolutely. You know, I've never wanted to like push religion on people and things like that, because I used to be very like, you know, self-absorbed, but when I tell people that the experience that I had was God giving me a second chance, you know. One part I left out in the story, which is amazing, which is going into the script that I'm writing about my life as well. Maybe you could be a part of that. That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
When I got pulled over, I was freestyle rapping on my phone on a dash cam.
Oh God.
And I never turned it off. So the whole 15-minute chase was on film.
Oh my God.
And that made it even crazier, because we're talking about there was so many people that were watching it live, and the prayers that I seen from it and things like that. When I had come to, and then you know, I had someone delete the video because I felt so nervous about it. But I had seen the response, and people were praying for me live, and I have this vision of like angels camping themselves around me that night, because the cops easily told me to my face that they could have shot and killed me.
There's no question.
This is Pennsylvania, you know, it's different.
They're very, not very conservative.
Yes, yes.
I'm not going to go to, I was going to use some other language for the people over there, but I don't want to say that over the air. But it's, there's a lot of people that don't like anybody that's not white. Anglo-Saxon Protestants.
Exactly. Yeah, we're talking about Commonwealth states, very different, you know. And you know, you can't really blame a lot of, you know, we're a little more lenient up here because gentrification, things like that. Well, the mixture of the cultures, you know. But over there, you still have a lot of old school ways of thinking and things like that.
Very bad ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I feel like it was beyond just a racial thing for me at that moment, though it may have something to do with that, and I'll never deny that. But at the same time, I do know that, you know, it was God, you know, giving me that chance, because it's not like I really thought, hey, I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to die. It wasn't that. It was just so.
But it could have so easily happened.
Yeah, exactly. Or getting killed unconsciously, you know, like not knowing it was going to happen, but putting yourself in that position.
See, my father, I told you about my father. He's 103 years old.
Yes.
103 and a half, you would always say. He says he believes in second chances, and you gave yourself a second chance, right?
Absolutely.
Because you know, I know people who have gone to jail that went the other direction, you know. So it's like you're probably unique in the way that you know, the way you responded to a terrible thing that happened in your life is that now you're very positive. As a matter of fact, there's no curse words in your rap, right? I mean, you don't curse. It's a positive. I mean, you give illusions of some of the bad things that happen in your life, but it's how you turn it around and what your life is all about now. Absolutely. Is that what your music is always about? Is that the part of it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still write love songs. I do that. You know.
Well, that's positive too.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know. I just got engaged, by the way. Which is
congratulations!
Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome.
Just a couple of weeks ago, you know, to a woman who I plan to spend the rest of my life with. Another blessing from God.
That's it. There it is.
So I do music. But I'm a firm believer in using my own story at this point in time, which has to do with showing the world where I came from. So I do talk a lot about, you know, the sex, the drugs, the music, the you know, bad things I had to go through prison. But I like to talk about positive things too, about God in my music, you know.
So one thing that's also good, I met you for the first time today, but you're so transparent. You know, you're not, a lot of people would hide things, you know, about their past because they would be afraid of how people would envision it. But you're using the things that happen in your life to give yourself power to, you know, I mean, you're using it as positives because it changed you. That's so awesome. I'm happy for you. So let's talk about your acting, okay?
Yes.
So when did you first get interested in, I mean, well, you were interested in high school and public school and all this stuff, right? Yeah. But when did you decide that maybe you would start doing it on a professional level?
In prison. Ironically.
Cool.
I basically said when I come out, I had a connection. Somebody had already given me a few places to go to. I knew I had to start doing background, you know, and even if it meant whatever it took, you know, and being non-union, you know how that can go.
Right.
And I've had some rough times, rough experiences doing that, but while I was doing that, I got my first gig, like I said, in September. I came home in June of last year. Wow. So within 3 months, I had gotten my first gig, and I realized.
So your life is going well now.
Yes, by God's grace. I said, okay, this is a sign. Right. And then through that time, I've done over 15 movies and shows, 2 of them with JT, 2 films. We did the one I told you about, and I was also part of Clinton Road with Ice-T, Vincent Pastore. You know him. I've seen him on his show.
He's been on his show, right?
Yeah, I've seen that clip. Right.
Would you play a bad guy even though you're a good guy?
Of course. Sometimes I think that's probably one of my main things that I want to do. You know, so I'm trying to do a biopic on myself and figure out if I'll be playing myself or not. But yeah, I've always had that vibe. You know, the drug dealer, the pimp, whatever, the drug user. You know, I'll go lose weight. I'll do one of those Christian Bales and end up like this. But whatever I got to do, you know, let's go.
But you got to keep your health. That's one thing.
Yeah, of course.
Especially for your fiance.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and your future, you know, kids or whatever, which would be awesome. So, what do you like? Any particular type of roles, or you like any role that comes along?
Dramatic. I really enjoy dramatic. You know, I'm a big fan of Denzel Washington. I love Leo.
I felt bad for him at the what was it, the Tony Awards. He looked like he thought he was going to win. Yeah. That broke my heart a little bit, looking at his face, because, you know, he's a Mount Vernon kid. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's from but it was like it looked like when I forgot who won, but the look on his face was not happy.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. He's underrated.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously up there with the greats, but I think, you know, he should have been winning this whole time. You know, I mean, he's still a winner in my eyes. But yeah, some things like that. I love comedy though. Like my comedy is a little drastic. Like when I'm around my friends, things like that. Like I've tried to tone it down a little bit. You know, like because I tend to joke a lot with a lot of my friends.
But you're acting. You like drama, not comedy.
Yeah. Like because I want to portray a message. I want to do something that's strong, that's different, that's gonna bring emotion. Like, you know, when you watch that movie and you start to tear, like I connect with those kind of characters, and I do know for a fact that I have the ability to draw into that character just based on my own past experiences and knowing how to channel that energy as a method actor. If I got to not talk to anybody for a few days, I'm going to do it, you know. Like I really want to get into it on that level, you know.
That's cool. Would you continue, are you thinking about continuing to take classes?
Yes, actually. I've been doing a little research. You know, I know there's a Lee Strasberg Institute in New York. There's a bunch of schools I've been looking at, so I definitely want to take it to the next level.
Right, because I only took one class when I was in Hollywood, and it was like a cold reading course. Because in Hollywood, the only thing actors wanted to do was to pass the audition and get the gig. And that's what this whole class was. But you'd be amazed, like regular, I mean, like real name actors were part of this class, and it was just. You know, and they would still come in, and, you know, they'd give you the script 5 minutes before it was your turn to do it, and then you just do a dialogue, and everybody would be watching you. It'd be like they had like these bleachers, and you'd be right in the middle, and it was just. I miss going to class. I could use it again.
That's great. I mean, obviously, so people who are already established still use it. You're never too old or too young to learn. You know, I think that's a good idea.
Do you ever think you'll do your own like directing or producing?
Yeah, I have so many visions. You know, I have ideas, you know, for scripts, and it's just me. All it is for me is sitting down and getting it done, because I'm one of these guys, you know, who has a million ideas, and until I put it into a tangible product, you know, that can take a little longer than a lot of
Do you find that
things.
if you have a million ideas, it's tough to focus in on any one?
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
But I think that's like the key, but I don't know, I've spoken to a lot of creative people, and it seems like people who are like musicians are, you know, artists, and they can also do, you know, acting, whatever. It's like if you have it in you, it has to come out one way or another. Do you find that? I mean,
yeah, and channeling my addictive personality. When I do sit down to get things done, generally I do, you know, because then I'll be focused on that one thing for that amount of time, and then be able to move on.
So have you started your writing your story yet?
Yes, I got about 2 pages down.
Wow.
Well, I have like, you know, the basic synopsis, and then I just have like pivotal points that I want to hit, like you know, this is going to be for this 10 minutes, or this, and just scenes in my life, because, you know, I'm trying to put 32 years of experience into an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's not going to be easy.
32, that's a good age, actually. That's
just turned 32 last week.
That's a great age. Yeah, it's a good age to be serious, start getting serious.
Absolutely.
No question. I think I came back from Hollywood when I was 32 years old, and I got serious. But don't do what I did. I took 20 years off before I started acting again. So
wow.
But I love acting. I think, and I meet the best people, you know, acting. I meet the best people on this show. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And so, what other aspects of your life you'd like to talk about at this point?
Just basically, you know, the youth movement. You know, like eventually.
Oh, that's right. You're an advocate.
Right? Yeah, like I want to teach kids that, you know, they can come back. You know, a lot of rappers these days are glorifying this drug use and you know, things like that. And when you're blessed to say that you've survived that. You know, I'm talking about surviving overdoses, almost being shot, you know, getting guns stolen from me. Things have happened to me. And there are a lot of young kids that glorify that. And I want to explain to them, you know, like, what prison is really like. You know, like for some people, that's like a badge of honor.
Passage, right?
Yeah, you're like, ooh, I went to prison.
Right.
You know, and the first couple times I felt like that because I had the 2 days, the week, the
Right.
3 weeks, and I'm home back doing what I was doing until the years kick in of you know, the year in jail and then the parole. You know, I want to teach kids how to become better versions of themselves. You know, a lot of people don't have fathers. I didn't have one growing up. You know, I want to introduce them as God being their father first and foremost, you know, getting people involved in churches, giving back to the community. Eventually, I want that to be my, you know, like philanthropy to be my main focus in life.
Right. Like, it seems like, you know, you're so open and you're so positive right now. When you were going through the other stuff in your life, was there still a positive aspect of you, or were you totally like negative?
Yes. Very small amount, but
Right.
that was the drive that kept me going every day. That was what got me to the next day.
Did you ever think, like in the back of your mind, you always thought that maybe that positive would win over the negative, you think?
I always knew it. As a matter of fact, I always knew it, even in the darkest of my days.
See, that's it. I mean, I think a lot of people go through that, maybe not to the extent that you did.
Yeah.
But you always, you know, that maybe it's hope, maybe it's faith, whatever you want to call it. But you know, everyone has a rough time. You know, but some people obviously have it rougher than others growing up. But it seems like you grew up at 32, kind of, in a way.
Yeah.
And I kind of did the same thing. But I always kind of knew everything was going to be okay in the end, even though things weren't always okay. And things are okay now, you know. So what do you call that? Is that faith? Is that what you call it?
Yes, absolutely. The hope of things not seen, you know, knowing that there's something at the end of this,
Right.
you know.
And there is, right?
Of course. You know, even down to my sentence, you know, on this bid, was expecting 3 to 7 years. Right. And by the time I got to see the judge, which took a little longer than normal, it was like 9.5 months, I got time served.
Right, well, the thing is, you're not a criminal. I mean,
well, yeah, it's like,
that's the whole thing. I mean, technically you were, but in terms of who you are, you just, you were lost. Or whatever it was. It wasn't, you weren't out there trying to do something.
Yeah,
you were just
exactly.
like, anyway, well, your story is going to be awesome, man. I mean, I think it's going to be it'll be a great movie, you know? I think it's
the idea and title, we'll say it now, based on a true glory.
Wow.
You know, it's obviously based on a true story, but I want to tell people what the glory of God is.
That's
you know,
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally working on it as we speak, and you know, I'm just going to try to get some funding and really get this and make this a reality.
Yeah, it's amazing though. Like once you start thinking, like I do some writing too, and it's like it becomes like an obsession to me. It's like, you know, I'll be brushing my teeth saying, well, you know, the character. You know, is that how it is with you too?
Always, especially with music. You know, like I said, they go hand in hand.
And you're going to
be
putting your music in the background for your.
Oh
yeah,
I plan to score it. I would love to put an album out with it as well, and eventually a book. You know, I have this whole package idea in my mind. You know, the idea for Recon,
huh? You got to do it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. The whole idea of Recon Regime, I wrote that in prison. I came out with a stack of notes like this, you know, of songs, of poems, of like just political rants, just my grace to God, just everything. Oh, my glory to God for His grace, and just everything. So those ideas came from that time in my life where I said this has to change, and I came out and I legalized the company. I mean, I made it a reality.
That's cool. I'm so happy JT told me to have you on the show.
I'm happy to be here. Believe me.
To me, it was like you know, because it's sort of like life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. But your story is unbelievable. Like I really, I'm really excited for you. I'm excited that you're on the show. I think it's going to, first of all, I think this was a great episode. I think everyone is going to get something out of it. I'm really excited about it. So, do you ever go to school? When you say advocate, when you talk to people, I mean, talk to kids, do you talk to kids about doing this?
Not yet.
But that's in the plan?
Yeah, 100%. You know, motivational speaking, things like that, just in general, you know, embodying that, whether it's through churches, through organizations, through, you know, youth centers.
Right. Well, you know, it was, this was a great episode, but you know, unfortunately, there's just one thing left to say. That's a wrap. Good night, folks.